Hey everyone,
Oh,
and
come on.
welcome back to Grimm of Tales of Grimm, or Book of Grimm, aka my notebook to Peter.
Oh, come on. You ruined it. You're supposed to let me say that.
I don't care. Chapter 1, Page 1, Perspective. Amy was such a good owner. With her black hair, hazel eyes, red lipsticks. Red was her favorite color, and she loved horror stuff, kind of sociopath, but everyone loved her, and she loved me. I was her favorite. She
Nope.
she wasn't my master, but she took care of me. Amy found me by the side on the side of the road about 2 weeks ago. She took me home and I've been with her ever since. While school started up again, Amy wanted to show me off to everyone. Amy had lots of friends, but she mainly hung out with only a few. Tom with his blonde hair and blue eyes. Tom was also Emily's boyfriend. Emily's, not Amy's. And was a real asshole.
Like
However,
me.
yeah. However, Amy had to put up with him since he was Emily's boyfriend, and Emily was Amy's sister, younger sister. I never liked Emily. She was just as much an ass as Tom, with her dyed hair, clo- pink dyed hair. I can't read dyed hair, and brown eyes. There was John. He was close to Amy. He had brown hair and brown eyes. Well, they were just juniors in high school.
They were a little too close, if you know what I mean. Wink,
Perspective,
wink.
page 2. After school, Amy showed me to everyone. They all laughed and were disgusted by me. Listen, I know I am not the nicest looking, and I was abandoned, but come on. Tom reached out his hand and asked to hold me. So Amy picked me up and handed me to Tom. Tom then threw me across the courtyard and started to laugh. He was such a sadistic asshole. No one knew what Emily saw in him. Amy rushed over, picked me up, brushing off the dirt, relieved that I wasn't hurt. I rhymed. She held me to her chest tightly, told Tom to go to hell, and started to walk home. I'm only a little guy and have been through a lot. She knew that. She looked at me and smiled. I was hungry, and I looked at her and tried to smile. We went home and relaxed for the night. I lay next to her on the bed a while. She did her homework. She did homework. Everything was at peace. It was a Friday night, so after she was done with homework, Amy played with me for a bit. The next day, Amy and I woke up around 11:30. It was a lazy day. Amy went downstairs after getting dressed to go eat breakfast. Yeah, flip the giant notebook over. Perspective, page 3. She left me upstairs on her bed. I didn't mind. I liked to relax and chill out, so I just laid on her bed. A little bit later, maybe around 4ish, Amy came back upstairs to hang out with me. I was so happy to see her, and so was she. Amy and I were listening to music when Emily walked into the room. Emily bursted out laughing, saying that she couldn't believe that Amy still was playing with that disgusting thing. Amy just glared at her. I could feel the rage starting to fill Amy. Emily
Or
burst
was it coming?
Emily, brushing her pink hair to the side, told Amy that Tom said she should burn that piece of shit. Amy, full of rage, screamed at Emily, he can burn in fucking hell. Emily laughed and walked out of the room. Amy went back to playing with me that night, listening to music, watching movies, and finally going to bed at 12. The next day, Amy woke up early because she had to go out with family. I didn't really understand, but she left me home alone. So I just waited for her to come back. They do this every Sunday, so I didn't mind. Page 4. Later that day, Amy finally came home with her ass of a sister, Emily. It wasn't really late, only about 5 o'clock. Amy came upstairs and hopped in the shower, then changed into her pajamas to relax for the night. We were chilling on the floor when Queen Ass Emily burst into the room pissed. She started to yell at Amy, asking if she had heard from Tom. Amy said, "Of course I haven't. Why would I care about him?" Pissed off, Emily stormed out of the room. She looked at me and smiled and said, "I love you." She turned and looked out the window. She was looking at the full moon in wonder. We went to bed after she played with me for a bit. She had to get up early for school. We woke up to screaming. Amy quickly ran downstairs with me, confused. Emily on her knees crying and freaking out. Amy looked up to the TV, which was on the news channel. There was a brutal murder at the high school in the courtyard. The students' limbs were ripped off, burned almost to charcoal with runic symbols carved into them, and then hung from the tree in the center of the courtyard. His head shaved and his eyes taken out, then stuck on a branch. What was left of his center body was ripped open with his ribs were open, and his ribs were pulled out. And chunks of meat were missing. Chunks of meat, were taken out of him with bite marks. According to the police, they are confused whether it was a person or an animal that killed him. What really concerned the police was that they don't understand why he was there and his death doesn't show up on the cameras. Amy's mom quickly ran over, turned off the TV, and fell to the floor to comfort Emily. Amy looked at Emily and said, "Oh well," and then walked upstairs. Apparently school was canceled for a while, but that didn't bother Amy. We sat upstairs the rest of the evening. I watched as she played video games. I wanted attention. She knew that, so she played with me for a bit. Later that night, we heard another scream coming from Emily's room. We rushed in there. Emily was standing by her bed. She looked at us and said, "There is a pile of blonde hair and 2 blue eyes under her pillow." Amy grabbed the pillow and lifted it up. To her surprise, there was nothing there. Amy turned to Emily and told her she's just seeing things. Amy and I left Emily there terrified and we went to bed. From then on, Emily has been having nightmares, but she was too scared to talk about them. 3 days later, Amy and I were chilling upstairs, flicking through the channels when we suddenly get a text from Mom to turn on the news. So Amy turned to the news and was a little shocked by what she saw. John's car crashed into a ditch. His body wasn't in the car, though. Apparently, the front window was smashed and he was dragged through the forest, half-eaten, burned with runic symbols on him. Amy turned off the TV and said cheaters never prosper. Even I knew he was cheating on Amy with Emily. Amy looked at me, smiled, picked me up, and said, "All I need is you." We went to bed after playing video games for a bit. Emily walked into Amy's room and told her that she was going to take a bath, then walked out into the bathroom to get undressed and turned on the water to fill the tub. She slowly got into the warm water and closed her eyes and started to relax. She awoke to something brushing against her feet. She looked down in horror. In the drain was blonde hair and a blue eye staring dead at her. She tried to scream but couldn't. Emily tried to get of the water, out of the tub, but she was stuck. The water turned pitch black and started to boil. Thrashing and panicking, Emily tried to escape but couldn't. Arms rose from the black boiling water. They were burned with runic symbols all over them. The arms grabbed Emily and started to pull her under. Burning from the boiling water, she tried to fight it, but failed and was dragged under. Then there was silence and nothing. Amy walked up to the door and started banging on it. Trying to figure out why Emily was taking too long, Amy grabbed the key from the door top rim and unlocked the door, walked in, turned to the tub, and fell to her knees in horror. Emily was dead. She appeared to have died in her sleep, probably fell into shock and then drowned. Amy got up and ran to her room to call 911 or her mom. When Amy got to her room, she grabbed her phone, but it was dead. Behind her, the door slammed shut. The lights started to dim. She slowly turned around, terrified. I was sitting next to her. She picked me up and held me to her chest tightly. Her closet door slowly opened to pitch black. Eyes started to appear in the darkness. An arm came from the darkness and grabbed her leg. Twisted. Amy, still holding me to her chest, fell to the floor. Quickly, another arm sprung from the darkness and latched onto her leg. Violently and quickly dragging Amy into the darkness, the closet door slowly closed shut. Everything else was left undisturbed. Amy's mother found the body of Emily and called the cops. Amy wasn't found. They suspected she ran away. She was finally mine at last. Finally mine at last. In my pages. No, she was finally mine. Yeah, at last, in my pages.
She was finally with me at last.
I'm trying to read. I'm tired. In my pages. She was a good owner, but I needed to find my master. I will find him. I belong at his side. The end.
A lot better than the last one. Better on detail. But you still need to work on your wordplay.
Yep. It's a good story.
Yeah.
Would you be scared? Peter?
No.
No, just no. Do you think anyone would be scared by this?
Maybe like your young cousins and nieces and nephews.
I did say his eyes were shaved and his head was shaved and his eyes were torn out and then stuck onto a tree.
Yes, then I don't get how they got to the girl's bedroom.
No one knows what no one knows what killed him. He was just found dead. Ripped apart.
And you need to do better on the description of his body.
I did.
Because you kind of confused me.
How?
Because you said his ribs were torn out. Like, were they laying on the ground, or was his rib cage ripped open?
His rib cage was ripped open.
So why didn't you say his rib cage was whipped open?
I whipped whipped open. I did originally think I said that because there's a lot of stuff I crossed out. Yeah. And I'm trying to read it, ripped open with his crushed, and then I crossed that out and said with his ribs were pulled out. Yeah. I was trying to say ripped open, but it didn't come out right. Alright, that's all we have for this time. Good night.